They own universities with the money, baby, that rabbit hole is deep.
If I were to list all of the many crimes of all of the folks whom I'm about to introduce, I would keep you through lunch. We don't want to do that. So I will mostly just read the names, but there are a few people who we want to reserve special treatment for. Starting with our first slide, please. UC President Michael V. Drake. As president, Michael Drake has refused to acknowledge, much less condemn, the genocide and ongoing Nakba in Palestine. Instead, he has approved the violent use of police power against UC community members who have protested in support of Palestinian life, while at the same time overseeing the creation of a new network of surveillance and disciplinary powers aimed at curbing our ability to speak about Palestine. None of this is new for Michael V. Drake, who was chancellor at UC Irvine, oversaw in 2010 the persecution of the Irvine 11 for the crime of speaking out in favor of Palestine. What else do we know about Michael V. Drake? I see someone in the audience who I think has something to say about Michael V. Drake. Dylan?
My name is Dylan Rodriguez. I'm a distinguished professor at UC Riverside. I've worked there for almost a quarter century. I am embarrassed and I'm disgusted by the fact that I work at an institution that has UC President Michael Drake as its chief executive in the highest office of the University of California administrative leadership. I charge him, just look at the slide, look at his face. I charge him with being a dead-eyed, soulless coward, leading the normalization of Nakba and Zionist genocide in the University of California. Fuck you, Michael Drake.
Harsh words from Dylan, but I'm looking at my phone and it's all true, apparently. All right, next defendant, please. We charge UC Regent Maria Anguiano. Next. She is horrible. We charge UC Regent Elaine E. Batchelor. Next. We charge UC Regent Carmaine Chu. Next slide. We charge Regent Michael Cohen. Next. We charge Regent Gareth Elliott. Now, Elliott, I'm going to pause here because Elliott, like many of our defendants, is a creature of Sacramento. He has deep links to the California Democratic Party. In this case, after working for then-Governor Jerry Brown, Elliott went on to be a lobbyist for clients that included Walmart, Microsoft, and Kraft Foods before being appointed as a regent by his former employer, Governor Brown. The story that I heard is apparently one day he went in to lobby Jerry Brown on behalf of one of his clients, and at the end of the pitch, Brown said, "That's great, do you want to be a regent?" So that's how you get to be a regent, in case you're wondering. He is yet another example of the intertwined corruption between corporate interest and the Democratic Party that characterizes so many of those who you see in front of you today and sit on the board of regents. Next. We charge Regent Howard Peter Goober. Goober, in addition to the crimes, Goober. Lol. In addition to the crimes with which he's being charged today, he has also been sued for sexual harassment and used racist, and demeaning language to refer to players on the Golden State Warriors basketball team, of which he is an unfortunate co-owner. And yet, somehow this man is deemed qualified to sit in power at the top of a public university that is supposed to serve all of the people of California. Next. We charge Regent Jose Hernandez. Yeah, come on, Jose. Next. We charge Regent Nancy Lee. I want to be the guy in the sunglasses. He looks like he's having fun. Actually, I think that's Bob Iger. That's her boss. So, in addition to being a regent, Nancy Lee is chief of staff to Walt Disney CEO Bob Iger. Disney is not only a consistent violator of BDS principles, but also directly contributed $2 million to Israeli organizations in the wake of October 7th at the start of this ongoing genocide. Next. We charge Regent Richard Lieb.
Leave the dweeb.
Again, that checks out. A former chair of the Board of Regents, Lieb is an outspoken Zionist and genocide supporter who's contributed to Zionist groups including AIPAC, Pro-Israel for America PAC, and Democratic Majority for Israel. He has excused the targeting of hospitals in Gaza while presiding over a violent crackdown on Palestinian solidarity efforts on U.S. campuses. I believe we have somebody else here who can say something about Richard Lieb, please. And you need to be in front of the mic, yeah.
Richard Lieb is also the former VP for Lockheed Martin, which is currently arming Israel and complicit in the genocide of Palestinians. He also was caught on Twitter liking anti-Arab tweets and supporting doxing of UC students. So you can go to hell.
Next slide, please. You're killing me up here. We charge Regent Hadi Makarichian with many crimes, including those teeth. Next, please. We charge Regent and current Vice Chair of the Board of Regents, Ana Matasantos. Next. Okay. We charge Regent Lark Park. Next. We charge Regent John Perez, former Speaker of the California State Assembly and another former chair of the Board of Regents. Perez is a Democratic Party insider and vocal Zionist who showed his support by speaking at an AIPAC convention and took sponsored trips as a lawmaker to Israel. More recently, he has used his platform as regent to attack and slander UC community members and label our protest against genocide as anti-Semitic and, quote, disruption for the sake of disruption. Next. We charge Chair of the Board of Regents, Janet Riley. As chair, Regent Riley has overseen the imposition of draconian new measures designed to suppress support for Palestinian life and is, perhaps not coincidentally, closely connected to the San Francisco and California Democratic Party apparatus. Next. We charge Regent Mark Robinson. Next. We charge Regent Gregory Saras. Next. We charge Regent Richard Sherman. We charge Regent Jonathan J. Suarez. Another outspoken Zionist, Suarez has spearheaded efforts to muzzle faculty speech on Palestine and is also vice chairman of the United Talent Agency, which counts among its formal clients the Anti-Defamation League, an anti-Palestinian hate group. I sense someone in this audience knows something about Jay Suarez. Christine, please come to the stage.
This guy is so out of control. He could not stop himself from writing to the UC Ethnic Studies Faculty Council. He wrote a letter on October 30th of last year in which he professed concern for only Jewish life. Okay, the other thing that he did was he rehearsed in this letter, which became the kind of impetus for the website policy that muzzles us from being able to speak out on matters of critical public import. That letter, he stated a number of things. He stated that Hamas had killed babies. Okay, he issued something that, he issued an untruth. And let's figure out like what his area of specialization is. At the United Talent Agency, he manages, in addition to the ADL, news celebrities. So he knows that a good lie goes far. Okay, so he stated something that Biden stated that was widely understood to be an untruth. The other thing that he stated, and it pertains to today, he stated that Hamas had built infrastructure underneath all of Gaza's hospitals, justifying their targeting. This is a regent of the UC. The other thing too is Vicky was speaking about the infamous history of the UC and the development of the atomic bomb. Jay Suarez, a no-talent agent, is the chair of the board of directors of Triad, the Los Alamos lab. Shame!
Thank you, Christine. Next slide, please. We charge Governor and Regent ex officio Gavin Newsom. Gruesome Gavin needs no introduction to this crowd, but it is worth noting that when he is not personally working to destroy the belongings of unhoused people, he is an ardent Zionist who has repeatedly taken sponsored trips to Israel and met with high-level Israeli officials who are directing the genocide in Gaza. Next. We charge Lieutenant Governor and Regent ex officio Eleni Kounalakis, another outspoken Zionist. Kounalakis has repeatedly defended the genocidal actions of the so-called Israeli state, while calling for more repressive measures to be employed against UC community members who have raised their voice in support of Palestinian life. Next. We charge Assembly Speaker and Regent ex officio Richard Rivas. Next. Oh, yeah. We charge State Superintendent Tony Thurmond. Our final system-wide defendant, Thurmond, has taken sponsored trips to Israel and attempted to silence schools and teachers who would dare to teach Palestine in their classrooms. This concludes our rogues gallery of system-wide defendants, but please stay tuned later in the day where you will be introduced to the leadership of the University of California, San Francisco, and their role in perpetuating genocide and ongoing Nakba in Palestine.
Has funded Zionist organizations that have placed ethnic studies in their crosshairs. And you might ask, why ethnic studies? And so what we're seeing right now is a kind of politics, a dominant politics in which there is safe space discourse that is getting wielded to make arguments that anything having to do with Palestine imperils the safety of Jewish community members of the UC. So this is a lie. I mean, Santa Cruz, I think, is representative in that the encampment was 30% anti-Zionist Jewish students. And, but I want to say about the Diller Foundation, like, why would they place ethnic studies in their crosshairs or fund an organization that actually is known for doing this? UMCA, right? And the reason is that with the passage of AB 101, the legislation mandating ethnic studies in high school education, there was a model curriculum that was developed. And many people here know this very intimately. And what happened was, in the model curriculum, there was a module that dealt with the it was an Arab American Studies module that dealt with the occupation of Palestine, that mentioned BDS, that also mentioned apartheid, that mentioned settler colonialism. And what happened was Newsom, although he signed AB 101 into law, he and Tony Thurmond, both figures that have a lot to do with the EC, that serve in ex officio status as regents, basically what they did was they placed guardrails around ethnic studies. What this meant was that there could be no room within a field of study for even the mention of Palestine and Palestinians. That there had to be a securitized enclosure around education so that Palestine couldn't even enter into the order of knowledge. And one of the worst organizations is an organization called UMCA. And UMCA is actually based out of Santa Cruz, so it's local to us, unfortunately. And so you could see that UMCA very proudly states that its chief goal is to combat anti-Semitism at U.S. universities, and chief among its targets is ethnic studies. Next slide, please. So this person here is Tammy Rossman Benjamin. Totally, yep. So Tammy Rossman Benjamin, before ethnic studies even existed as a program or a department at Santa Cruz, kept targeting Middle East studies, because there could be no area of the university where there could be any critical study of Zionism or Palestine, right? And so what happened was, over a decade ago, on our campus, before there was Students for Justice in Palestine, there was Committee for Justice in Palestine, and Tammy Rossman Benjamin, in a video that was posted online by her supporters, was actually, she stated that SJP and the Muslim Students Association are not your average student associations. And then here she said, like, the Young Democrats or the Young Republicans, and I don't even know any campus that has those clubs on it, right? And so what she stated was she said that these are organizations that have a lot of foreign students who come to this country with an agenda. And then, so she said that they come to this country with an agenda, and she said, and they have active ties to terrorist organizations. So she terrorist baited these organizations, these student organizations, and then this is how she describes Palestinians, Muslims, and Arabs. She said, anti-Semitism is how they think about the world. And so, like, what she's basically saying is that there could be no, like, anything. She's basically making an identitarian claim about Palestinianness, saying that it is, by definition, anti-Semitic. So anything having to do with Palestine has to be securitized. It has to be enclosed. It has to be excluded. It cannot be admitted into the university. It cannot be in the realm of public and critical conversation. It can never, ever enter into the order of knowledge. Next slide. So these are the priorities of UMCA. Confronting anti-Semitic critical ethnic studies. Okay, like in other words, if ethnic studies gets anti-imperialist, no way. And here's the other thing. Ethnic studies, it centers the study of structures and systems of power from the perspective of the communities that are the most impacted. That's dangerous, okay? And then like countering academic BDS and anti-Zionist faculty, and then protection for Jewish students, right? And then here, you don't count if you're anti-Zionist and you're Jewish, okay? Okay, next slide. And so these are some of the areas that that UMCA has targeted in recent years, area A through G/H ethnic studies at the UC. UMCA infiltrated the process. The Daily Bruin reported about this. CREZ at UC Santa Cruz, this is a department that I used to chair, and I worked with students to help bring into being, and the UC Ethnic Studies Faculty Council. And in fact, she writes letters to the Legislative Jewish Caucus with 150 different sort of Zionist organizations, and she also writes to the Regents. And this matters because with the Legislative Jewish Caucus and the Regents, this has a shaping influence on the UC. These are ways in which the UC is complicit. Next slide. The UC aligns with organizations like this that are funded by the Helen Diller Family Foundation. So she talks about the anti-Zionism of critical ethnic studies, and she says that so she conflates anti-Zionism in that usual move with anti-Semitism. And she says that, okay, ethnic studies is polarizing. Okay, I would say no, because I think that we all have a stake in each other's freedom, okay? So, but she says that it's particularly threatening to, and she makes this claim, Jewish students. And so the safe space discourse, time and again, she's someone who actually filed a Title VI lawsuit with the Office of Education many years ago. It failed. She continues to wage a kind of lawfare against anything and everything. Okay, yeah. Let's go to the next slide. So here, because I'm affiliated with the UC Ethnic Studies Faculty Council, CREZ, and Area A through G/H, she put me in the crosshairs. It's not me, but it's ethnic studies as a space for critical study of Zionism, as well as Palestinian knowledge, right, and experience. And so she said that that basically I was making claims. She said because of her efforts, some school districts have been adopting her anti-Israel curriculum, including Hayward, Santa Ana, and Castro Valley. Okay, wait, no, you know what? I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't be everywhere at once. This is not me, okay? Next slide. And then she said, so she wrote to the Regents, and she said, Professor drafting California's Ethnic Studies Standard runs it's for being part of the Institute for the Critical Study of Zionism. And then, isn't it lovely that they added a photo of me? Only, I hope you could tell that's not me. And then, in the feedback loop, you could see that the Canary Mission took that photo and used that too, okay? I feel sorry for that person. That person is a real estate agent in Beverly Hills. I think that this is it. Is there another slide? I think this is it. Oh yeah, so anyhow, I forgot to say this. So last year, UMCA actually spearheaded a campaign to get me fired and propelled 2,000 people in an AstroTurf campaign to write in and to say that I was blatantly anti-Semitic and dangerous, that I was brainwashing youth, that I spread hatred, that I've created a toxic and terrifying environment, that I indoctrinate people, and that I spread false information. Who knows during these times, these are the things that we have to contend with, that I feel, I just want to give you a small sense, and really even, this is what I'll say, is that You know, during times like these, it really, we have like the courage that comes and the strength that comes from our comrades. And with attacks like this, we have to think about this like beyond the sort of individuals who are attacked. What is being attacked and why? This reminds me something of like what Vicky Wong was saying. What is the source of the attack? What are they attacking and why? And we have to ask that question too. But I'm going to like pass things over to Jaws.
Of organizations like this that claim that they are anti-hate, that they, fight against bigotry or whatever words they use, and then this is the kind of stuff they put out. So it's one of many Zionist counterinsurgency organizations that are encased in this liberal language of anti-hate. ADL is another good example, JCRC, whatever. But if you look at their database of anti-Semitism, all it is the Critical Race and Ethnic Studies Department at UCSC, Jews Against White Supremacy at UCSC, and Students for Justice in Palestine at UCSC. I challenge you in their 168 cases of anti-Semitism at UCSC to find one that is actually anti-Semitic. And so, yeah, next slide. So the reason we're focusing on Amka is that we're going to move into the Helen Diller, also known as Killer Diller Foundation, because obviously the Helen Diller Foundation funds Amka, and Amka is a good example because on the one hand, UCSC is taking money from the Helen Diller Foundation for Jewish studies, for their foundation, from an organization that is taking the same money and giving it to organizations that are actively fighting students and formations at UCSC. So it's like this weird, campus is taking money for its benefit, and then also this money is also implicated in literally attacks against students, faculty. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, next slide. This is just a photo of a lot of war criminals on one slide. Breaking ground for the Helen Diller Hospital. And so, yeah, we have Nancy Pelosi, London Breed, Michael Drake, the gang. Exactly. And so, as you can see, Helen Diller on the one hand does shit like this, but then we're gonna dive deeper into what they actually fund. And this is more of just like them saving face, to really hide what they are truly about.
So the Helen Diller Foundation claims itself to be a supportive, healing, educational space for cultural arts and global Jewish needs.
Lies.
These are all lies. Sure, the Killer Diller Foundation may fund some hospitals and art museums, but this is all to mask its contributions to Zionist, reactionary, and far-right white supremacist organizations and formations directly responsible for the genocide in Palestine. By Jewish needs, Killer Diller means Zionist Jewish needs, not anti-Zionist Jewish needs. We resolutely reject this anti-Semitic conflation.
Yeah, so this is just a fraction of the orgs that are funded by Helen Diller from 2010 to 2021. Here's just a little highlight reel of where the Helen Diller money is going. So, as you can see, they donated $130,000 to Christians United for Israel, which is the, I believe, the largest private Zionist organization in the U.S., founded and led by insane televangelist John Hagee. If any of y'all are familiar with how batshit insane he is, it's nuts. Yeah, they gave $40,000 to the Amcha Initiative, which we've learned about as a Zionist counterinsurgency organization on college campuses. They gave $50,000 to Friends of the IDF, which is a benefit organization for the genocidal veterans who fucking kill Palestinians every single day. Need I say more on that? They gave $100,000 to the Shurat Hadin Israel Law Center, which is a Tel Aviv-based law firm committed to defending the Zionist state in court, and just stamping out any anti-Zionist and pro-Palestinian advocacy in the courtroom. They gave, oh my god, that's a big number. I'm really bad at reading big numbers, but they gave $1,975,000 to the Israel Project, which is just a big tent pro-Israel NGO. Their whole thing is Israel, and yeah. They gave $50,000 to the Middle East Media Research Institute, which, despite its name, is actually a Zionist propaganda front, which is founded and funded by Israeli ex-intelligence. And then they gave $600,000 to JINSA, which we'll get into a little bit more in this presentation, but basically what they do is fund trips to Israel for US military personnel to strengthen relations, and also train genocidaires to be even more genocidal. So this is, if you click, maybe we still have it, but anyway, this is just a small handful of Zionist organizations funded by Helen Keller. So, yeah.
So this is the Jewish Institute for National Security, JINSA, is dedicated to advancing U.S. national security interests in the Middle East, of which a critical pillar is a robust U.S.-Israel security relationship. JINSA believes that Israel is the most capable and critical U.S. security partner